The world of Runeterra might be one of the most fascinating and intricate fantasy settings in modern gaming. While League of Legends is commonly associated with its wildly popular competitive scene, Riot Games have been taking great strides in recent years to flesh out their world and the characters that reside within, even going so far as to reboot the entire story in 2015. While this push for a deeper narrative has been widely appreciated by the game's lore community, the results have been controversial at times. With a retconned world came the need to retcon characters. Riot has made a substantial effort in the last few years to reimagine the backstories of League's iconic champions to fit them into the new lore, but not every change has been met with positive feedback. Let's face it, no writer is perfect and hindsight is 2020, so a number of characters throughout the years have been left with less than stellar backstories compared to most of the roster. Still, it is my firm belief that criticism should always be supplemented with suggestions and feedback for improvement, which is what we're here to discuss today. Hello and welcome to Runeterra Rewrites, a series in which I'll be offering my own takes on League's most controversial stories and champions. My aim is simple, to propose alternative versions of these stories that better match the characters' themes and concepts, without needing to alter anything regarding their in-game designs or voice lines. With all that being said, please sit back, relax, and let us begin, shall we? Once the heiress to House Kythera, one of the most powerful families in all of Noxus, Lady Elise now serves a higher calling. She claims to preach the words of the Soul Spinner, an ancient spirit said to weave new life from the souls of the deceased. What her faithful don't suspect, however, is that Elise really serves a different master, weaving a dark web of lies throughout the Empire and beyond. Elise always believed that she was destined for greater things. She was cunning and manipulative, traits that the Noxian Empire encouraged her to foster. When Elise grew of age and found herself thrust into a political marriage with Bernholt of House Savon, she raised no objections, seeing it as an opportunity to be exploited. She used her natural charms to beguile her groom-to-be, and skillfully manipulated any detractors of the marriage, turning them against each other. Soon enough, Elise had the entirety of House Zavon wrapped around her thumb. Though Bernholt was still regarded as head of the house, it quickly became apparent who was pulling his strings. When Bernholt himself finally realized the schemes he'd become involved in, it was far too late. He'd served his purpose, and Elise slipped a lethal poison into his drink over dinner one evening just as the young lord attempted to confront her. Confident that her position had been secured, Elise discreetly had the body disposed of, then retired to her bedchambers for a sound sleep. When next she awoke, Elise found herself in an unfamiliar setting, bound by powerful magic chains. A lone figure approached from the shadows, introducing herself as the Pale Woman. Elise's eyes widened in recognition of the name. In Noxus, rumors and legends of the enigmatic Black Rose, who controlled the Empire from the shadows, were abundant. Their influence was said to surpass even the Grand General, and Bernholt, the Pale Woman revealed, had been a useful pawn to them. Realizing the danger she was in, Elise was quick to strike a bargain. She swore that in exchange for her life and her position, the might of both houses Zavon and Kythera could belong to the Black Rose. The Pale Woman agreed to this bargain, but if Elise could not prove as useful of a pawn as Bernholt had been, then she would be discarded and replaced. Though gullible, Bernholt's knowledge of ancient history made him useful in the Black Rose's quest to acquire arcane power, and so that would be Elise's first task. Knowing her life dangled by a thread, Elise quickly set about scouring House Zavon's library for anything that might prove useful. There, she discovered texts that made reference to an ancient being simply called the Spider, and the cult that worshipped it. Following the breadcrumbs left by history, Elise eventually found her way to the Blood Cliffs to the south, and then beyond, to a place known as the Twisted Tree Line. There, she stumbled upon an ancient decaying temple covered with arachnid imagery. Surely, something of value had to lie inside. As Elise ventured deeper into the temple, the path sloped ever downwards until it opened up into a massive chamber covered in thread. A masked figure with several arms emerged from the darkness, greeting Elise expectantly. Though Elise's hand readied to draw her concealed dagger, she felt no malice from the strange being, who simply introduced himself as the Soul Spinner. Before Elise could even reply, she became aware of skittering all around her, and realized that she was surrounded by spiders, each one larger than a person. Within moments, Elise was wrapped in webbing, but the Soul Spinner urged her to remain calm. With only her eyes uncovered, Elise could do little more than watch as a massive figure loomed over her from the shadows, filling her with a sense of dread and awe. The creature spoke in her mind, granting Elise yet another ultimatum: serve the spider god Vilemaw, or become its meal. As ever, Elise chose her own survival above all else, and so a pact was made. The Soul Spinner stepped forward, weaving strange magics that transformed Elise in both body and soul. The webbing faded away, and Elise stood again, reborn as something not entirely human. The spider's power flowed within her, granting strength and eternal youth. All she need do in exchange for this gift was ensure her new master a steady supply of sacrifices, and Elise knew exactly how. Elise returned to Noxus to find the pale woman waiting for her, and offered one final accord. In exchange for helping her revive the cult of the spider, Elise would use her newfound power to aid the Black Rose however she could. Thus began Elise's centuries-long role as an intermediary between the pale woman and the spider god. Yet all the while, she schemes in the shadows, silently plotting to weave a web that will ensnare them both, and secure a position of power over all of Noxus.